Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom, a halfling convicted of crimes that he did not commit. Now he's back to take ghoulish vengeance upon his former kin with a freshly raised group of the Undead. Pogo Hogsfoot, Chief Prosecutor of the Neverthongian region, responsible for bringing Chocolate-Chip to justice. Here we have it, the depraved and foul forces of the Undead, under the command of Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom, staring down across the battlefield at the pure, noble-spirited Rhordian halflings. A very long line of them, as you can see here, stretching almost all the way across the battlefield, stopping short only at this house, which was in fact the birthplace of Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom. This game will be using the Kings of War, very creatively named, battlefield cards, which means that each side has a secret objective which will come up partway through the game, and a primary objective which we are aware of at the start. So as you can see, beforehand, we were forced to drop various objectives around the battlefield. There is one all the way back there. We saw this line of them kind of around the centre, one of them all the way down here, and then another right there. So some of the cards may require one side or both to fight for possession of these things. So that could come up later on. The primary objective for the Undead, as you can see here, is to get as much unit strength as possible into the centre of the battlefield. It's pretty much a one-sided dominate scenario for the Undead, which is never fun when you're facing down a Rhordian gun line. So this area is, of course, a former playground that Chocolate-Chip used to frolic about in his childhood, but it's since sunk into the swamp. And that brings us to another feature. These lands, so cursed are they, that the ground is now incredibly boggy. So all units will be slowed down to a minimum of 4 when carrying out at the double or charge order. So Undead, slightly less affected by that than other armies, due to lots of shambling units, so we'll see how often that comes up. The primary objective for the Rhordians is pretty much the eliminate scenario. So the 3 most expensive Undead units have been flagged as carrying bounty, which in this case is ground up bones of skeletal halflings that Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom is carrying with him into battle, hoping to take them back into his ancestral lands. So, carrying one such bag is this vampire down here. These werewolves also have one, and we have to go all the way across the lines to the Revenant King and Undead Worm to find the other. So, of course, looking at the back of Mr. Boggybottom there, with his retinue of evil, cutthroat, vampire halflings. So let's go through the forces, starting with the noble Rhordians, looking to bring an end to this reign of terror before it begins. What do we have over here?
We have 2 halfling sorcerers with steeds, a troop of halfling ranger cavalry, a halfling master sergeant with a bow, another troop of halfling ranger cavalry, 2 halfling iron beasts, 2 hordes of halfling archers. We have Pogo himself, who is just on a steed, doesn't have a bow, but he does have the ensnare rule because he's part of We've Had Second Breakfast, along with 2 regiments of spearlings and this horde of spearling, which have been upgraded with a strategy card giving them the blade of slashing. They have 3 halfling volley guns and then a master engineer in between them.
On the side of the foul Undead, we have Lycanis with the blade of slashing. We have a vampire lord on a horse with the wings of honey maize, so he's going to be flying around dishing out terrible bloody vengeance in the name of his master. Over here we have a horde of werewolves, and they are armed with the brew of strength. Then we have 2 zombie legions, as you would expect, both of them with the upgrade for the undead rats that will give them extra life leech, and this one here, as a result of a card, has the Mace of Crushing. Behind one of these units, you'll notice we have Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom there, and his bloody vampire coven of Soul Reaver infantry, a troop, armed to the teeth, deadly skilled warriors, hoping not to get gunned down. As we move along, there's a little bit of a gap due to this large castle here, but then you'll see the Revenant King on Undead Worm with the Brew of Sharpness, so let's see how that goes for him. Then we have a regiment of skeleton warriors with the Mace of Crushing, and then we have a regiment of wraiths with the Pipes of Terror. It should also be pointed out that Mr. Boggybottom there has Banechant and the Inspiring Talisman, and his vampiric retinue have the Dwarven Ale. So it's time for the first turn roll off. Here we go.
As usual, same.
Turn 1 for the evil forces of Undead, and over on this flank you can see that these slightly slowed down units with the boggy ground have worked their way up onto the flank, staring into the Rhordian lines. In the centre here, the zombie legions. This one though was surged a considerable distance by Chocolate-Chip down there with his retinue. Over here, the Revenant King on Undead Worm flew as far as he could, and he's just staring menacingly into enemy lines out of most of the charge range, unless the missile cavalry would like to charge him, which might not be wise. Might be though. And then down here, the wraiths and the skeletons have moved up as far as they can as well. So, over to the Rhordians, and I have a feeling that we're about to hear some gunpowder. So, deep into Rhordian turn 1, and you can see there's been a slight advance. A lot of the units moved up to get in range to use their spells and shooting attacks. Not so much of an advance over on this side, although the one unit did turn around slightly there. You can see that we were determining who was in the front of the werewolves over here, and which war machines could target which units. As a result of this volley gun here, the werewolves have taken 6 damage. So, we're going to have their nerve roll now. The Rhordians are looking for 9 to waver. Not quite. These zombies in the centre have taken quite a beastly amount of damage, so up to 20. So it's going to be 8 to destroy them, and let's see if they were surged out of inspiring range or not. Here we go. They were not. Here we go. 8 twice to kill the zombie legion. After a couple of volley guns, no. However, has a strategy card come into play? Yes, it has, and it's upside down, but what does it say?
Panic in the ranks. Add 1 to a nerve test made by you or your opponent.
Well, there you go. So that will remove them if you can do it again. They're super dead. So strategy card coming into play there. The zombie legion has been toasted in one go. Down on this side, first of all, the wraiths were wind blasted back after lots of ineffective missile shooting at them, but they're out of range for charging next turn now. And here, the Revenant King on Worm took 6 damage from the Iron Beast breath attacks. So, to waver the Revenant King, we are looking for a double 6. No. And we do not have it. So now a mighty hole has been punched in the undead lines, leaving the vampiric retinue of Mr. Chocolate-Chip looking quite exposed as we move into Undead turn 2. Undead turn 2. And the highly speedy advance walking towards the halfling bows of the skeletons continues. Down here, the Revenant King decided he had enough waiting around. He doesn't want to dance around the whole game, he's just getting stuck in there. And he did 8 damage on this big unit of archers here. So we'll see how that goes in a minute when we get to the nerve test. Down here, in the face of all this horrible shooting action, the zombie legion moved up to provide cover in front of the sacred halfling soul reavers. And then they were surged so they could actually provide that cover. Unfortunately, that carried the zombie legion just outside of the woods, so they're no longer going to be in cover, which is bad news for them. Good news for the soul reavers, though. And over here, the werewolves, Lycanis, and the mounted vampire that flies are all staring ominously across the halfling lines, ready to pounce in the next turn, no doubt. So, we've only got that one nerve test to do. To remove this unit of halflings is impossible, so to waver them will require a roll of 11. No. Rhordian turn 2, and as you can see there has been a bit more of an advance this time, as the flank over here advances upon the wraiths and the skeletons. You can see the wraiths have been pushed back with some wind blasting action, and the skeletons have taken 10 damage from the various shooting attacks around here. As we move on down, you'll see that these archers have countercharged the Revenant King and Worm, but we've yet to resolve that. Over here, the zombies took the brunt of the volley guns, but they've only taken 15 damage, which means they cannot be removed this turn. So no 2 zombie legion removals in a row. And over here, you can see that the halfling units just turned to face the enemy threat because they couldn't charge anything, and all the shooting attacks were focused on the zombies because there was nothing else in their arc of sight. So we've got that one shooting nerve test to do for the skeletons over here, who are on 10. So we need 6 to remove the skeletons. Here we go. And the skeletons are toast. So the halfling archers, in their furious comeback, have actually struck a couple of wounds onto the Revenant King on Worm, so he's up to 7. So we are now looking at 11 to waver him. Here we go. No, not quite. Undead turn 3, and the charges have been going in. The mounted and flying vampire elected to charge into the front of this unit here. There's a lot of phalanx going on, but they've decided to chance it anyway. The werewolves have gone in there, and Lycanis has just positioned himself ready for next turn. Here you can see the zombie legion have moved forwards, and they were surged. They were hoping for a really lucky surge that would take them straight into this guy out in the open. But unfortunately they couldn't make it there, but they have been surged into inspiring range of the Revenant King over there. So as you can see, the Necromancer from all the way back here now, because the Soul Reaver infantry were able to move up and not be too concerned about what's going to be shooting at them, with the zombies there to provide another rotting meat shield. The Revenant King obviously went back into this unit here. Over on this side, the Wraiths had a choice, and they decided they were going to go into this unit here. And it's the only combat that we've done so far, and they've taken a mighty 6 damage. So, with the Pipes of Terror as well, the Wraiths will need 3 to waver the unit, but they're really looking for a 5 to get rid of them, because they don't want to be flanked by anything around here. So here we go. And inspired, so let's do it again. They're still dead. You can see that the Wraiths have turned to face the oncoming threat from the other halflings in this region. And over in the middle, the Revenant King did 4 further damage to these halfling archers. So I now need 7 to waver them. Here we go. There is 9. And they are inspired. 7. So there we have a waver on this unit. The Vampire Lord has only done 3 damage to this Phalanx unit, so he's going to need 9 to waver. Here we go, no inspiring nearby, so a chance for a lucky one here. 7, so nope. The Werewolves have done 11 damage to this unit, so we are in double onesville. This unit is inspired, so let's see if I can get a double 1. Not this time. And here we go again.
Oh.
No, it's a 6, so they are dead.
Wah, wah.
Wah, 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 indeed. So you can see that when the werewolves took out that unit, I then played the unstoppable strategy card, which means they're allowed to overrun. And they needed a 4 or more to reach the volley gun and got 5, so they're now going to have another combat and hopefully chew through that pesky war machine. Okay, so as you can imagine, it's double 1 town for the volley gun. Here we go, and there's going to be a wound coming back for the werewolves as well shortly. But here we go, they are inspired, so could have a comical mishap here. Ooh, half of it. And another go. No, it's toast.
Wah, wah.
And there is the final rotation spot of the werewolves, staying carefully out of the potential shooting arc of the other volley guns. Rhordian turn 3. And a countercharge has been declared into this evil vampire scum. Down here, you can see that this little halfling character here has charged into the flank of the Revenant King on Worm. The werewolves were strangely untouched because there wasn't really space for them to be attacked by this unit here, but they were shot by the engineer, and they took a point of damage. The Zombie Legion have took a vast amount of damage from the remaining volley guns, so Operation Rotting Shield may be coming to an end, as that unit's probably going to die. But the Soul Reavers have been protected. If they make it into combat, they've taken 2 damage from some archers over here, and there are also wind-blasted sorcerers who are potentially going to be annoying them shortly, so we'll see whether they actually see any action at all. Over here you can see there's a double charge into the Wraiths, which we'll get to in the combat phase, of course. So, we have got some nerve tests to do, so let's begin with the werewolves, who have taken 1 point of damage up to 5, so we need 10 to waver. Not quite.
Hang on.
Unless there's a strategy card that can do something about this.
No.
No, there's not.
I used it before.
All that drama for nothing. Now onto the zombies who are inspired. So 2 cracks at that wonderful fabled double 1. Here we go. That's not quite the double 1 I was looking for, so how about this time? Not quite. We got half of it, but the zombies are toast. Both zombie legions dead again. So 2 damage on the Soul Reavers, so 9 will wave them, and they are not in inspiring range. So here we go. No, not quite. That would have been very cheeky though, if they'd been taken out with just a couple of plinked off arrows after all that effort to protect them. So Mr. Vampire didn't take any damage in the furious countercharge from these halflings, which isn't entirely unexpected. And down here though, the Revenant King has taken damage. So we're now looking at 11 to waver the Revenant King. Here we go.
Here's Johnny.
Not quite. That is painfully close, and if that strategy card was still in your hand, it could have come into play there. Sadly not. The Wraiths took 6 damage from the Iron Beast. So, 10 to kill them. Here we go. No. Undead turn 4, and first of all I should reveal that a secondary objective has been revealed. The most expensive Rhordian unit. If I can now get rid of that, it'll be 2 victory points. And we determined that it was going to be one of the Iron Beasts, so I selected this one that's actually in harm's way at the moment. The other one's just kind of in the middle of nowhere, so not much chance of killing that one. So we'll see whether that comes up before the end of the game. Down here you can see some crisscross charges went on. Lycanis has gone into the flank of this unit, Vampire Lord into the flank of this horde, and the werewolves have gone into the volley gun. The idea behind all of this is to avoid all the phalanx, pretty much. Down here, the Revenant King has gone back into this unit again, and the Soul Reavers have continued their mighty march across the battlefield, backed up by the Necromancer, Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom himself. And over here, the Wraiths decided that they'd countercharge into the individual, hoping to kill her, and then overrun into the Iron Beast. And they've made a good start to that, with 7 damage. So, we need 3 to waver, 5 twice to kill. Here we go, this could be a big deal.
And again.
There's 1. And looking for 5.
Yay.
Yes, just. She's gone.
Killed female halflings now, you cretin.
And the Iron Beast has actually fled down the hill in terror at the sight of that butchery. Now, do I even need to roll overrun here?
You know, because you're 1 inch away.
Yeah. So the overrun will automatically move the Wraiths into combat with Mr. Iron Beast up there, and of course they will.
Fisty Splinters.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
They've leached a wound back first, of course, so now they'll get a chance to crunch through this big wooden, what looks like an ale-filled monstrosity. So the Wraiths in all their might managed to do 3 damage to this large beastie, so a double 6 will waver. Here we go. No. The Revenant King has done 4 more damage to the horde, so we're now on 3 to waver, 5 twice to annihilate. Here we go. There's 1. And it's a 6, so they are toast.
Boo!
Off they go. So Mr. Revenant King is now going to have to choose which way he wants to face. So the werewolves on the volley gun. Double 1 time. Here we go. It is inspired though. Not this time. And again. No, it's dead. Then the Vampire Lord has done a mighty 7 damage to this horde here in the flank. So, here we go. That's only 7. So, no. So, Lycanis dished out 9 wounds to that unit. They're in double 1 town. And here we go. No. And they're not inspired, so off they go. So the Undead have deleted quite a few units in turn 4, and you can see the state of the battlefield. This side is looking quite healthy for the Undead, but there are halfling reinforcements on the way, with plenty of missile attacks, and in terms of the scenario, we'll see how it goes, because wind-blasting sorcerers could potentially ruin any Undead chances of having unit strength in the centre in the last few turns, but we shall see. Some of the Undead units are quite decently damaged as well. So can any of these halfling units around here finish the job? Rhordia turn 4, and their secondary objective has been revealed. They must secure more kill points than the opposition, in which case they will get an additional 2 victory points, which could help them were they able to do that. At this stage, they're probably slightly behind on kill points, but they have taken out some juicy legions, and there are some other units that they've attacked right now. For example, the Revenant King has been charged. The Vampire Lord has been countercharged, and were he to be killed, they could potentially overrun into Lycanis there. Down here, the Soul Reavers, who I've taken great pains to protect, have been blasted from all sides by all kinds of shooting attacks, breath attacks, bows, and then they've been wind blasted along with the Necromancer. Unfortunately, they are now almost dead. They are just within inspiring range still though, so we need 3 twice to kill the Soul Reaver. Halfling vampire scum. There's 1. Can he do it again? They crumble to dust, and the elite fighting force of the Halfling Undead legions, this vampire coven brought back from the dead to wreak havoc upon the Rhordian lands, is dead. However, the bones of their brethren are still very much secure for now. The Iron Beast had a terrible round of attacks. He's just been so put off by the death of his comrade there that he was only able to do 2 damage to the Wraiths. A roll of 10 required. Here we go. No. The Wraiths live. In death, as it were. The Revenant King on Worm took 1 additional point of damage from the leader back there. So up to 7, meaning 11 will waver. Here we go. No. The Vampire Lord suffered furious vengeance from these halflings here. He's taken 8 damage, which means that 6 to waver and 8 twice to kill the Vampire Lord. Here we go. There's 1 lot of killing. Can he be killed again? Yes, he can. The Vampire Lord is dead, which means that that juicy
3
bounty token heads over there as well. After their furious overrun, which made it into Lycanis, they've dealt 4 damage to him, which is pretty tasty. So, we are looking at 9 to waver, 11 twice to kill Lycanis. Here we go. No. Undead turn 5, and the most notable thing so far is that the Necromancer is hiding in the woods, so he's going to be slightly more difficult to kill if any of those units should train their bows on him next turn, and then he also has the option next time to potentially duck out of the woods onto this side and avoid further harm. The Revenant King on Worm has countercharged into the leader, hoping to deliver the kill and then overrun into the volley gun, and over here the Wraiths have countercharged into the Iron Beast. So the only combat that's been resolved so far is Lycanis countercharging this big ensnaring unit and the werewolves making a hindered flank charge on them. They delivered a huge amount of damage though, so they're up to 27 now, aren't they? So we're looking at double 1s. They are inspired though, so here we go. Not that time.
Alti bash dice.
And another go.
Jesus.
Can I get double 1 this time?
No.
No, they're dead. Revenant King managed to deliver 4 damage to the halfling leader. So, we're looking at 6 to waver, 8 twice to kill. There's 1. Need 8 again. No. So the Halfling leader survives, which means the Revenant King will be recharged, but he's not that terrified. The Wraiths managed to deliver 3 more damage to this Iron Beast, which means 10 will waver, 12 will destroy, which would mean juicy victory points. So here we go. Can it be done? Not quite. Halfling turn 5, and you can see that the leader charged into the werewolves. Over here, Mr. Revenant King has moved. That's because he was wind blasted and shot, turned into a bit of a pincushion. I'm not sure where the arrows are supposed to stick into this thing though. Maybe into the remaining wing membrane. So that's what we're going with. He's up to 12 damage though. And of course over here, there's been a counter charge from the Iron Beast. So the only units to take damage, Mr. Necromancer took 1. So he's going to need a nerve test. So 9 to waver the Necromancer.
No.
He is fine. And Mr. Revenant King, 6 to waver, 8 twice to kill. Here we go. That would kill him. Can it happen again? He is only wavered, which may be enough to swing the tide of this fully into the Rhordia favour. So the Iron Beast dished out 2 more damage, which means that a nerve roll of 9 will destroy the Wraiths and prevent them from possibly claiming these victory points for killing the Iron Beast. Here we go, can he get a 9? No, they live. Also, the leader did absolutely nothing to the werewolves, so moving on to the Undead turn 6, potentially the last Undead turn, and we need some units in this scoring area here. So in Undead turn 6, and potentially being the last turn, so some units have to make a break for this central area to try and get victory points. The Necromancer isn't among them. He decided because he couldn't get in range to Bane chant anybody, he's just going to hop out the woods and avoid being horribly slaughtered next turn. So he's hiding down there. In the centre, the werewolves, nimble charged around the leader into the Iron Beast. They're actually all in the trees at the moment, but we had to move them because it's getting a bit messy in there. And over here, Lycanis charged into the volley gun. The Revenant King on Worm has just turned round, so he won't be taking another rear charge next turn. And over here, the Wraiths, of course, have gone back into the Iron Beast, hoping to kill that, finally. And the only combat that's been resolved so far is Lycanis on the volley gun, and he dished out 11 wounds, so double 1 town, but there are 2 opportunities for it, with the engineer being there. Lycanis didn't want to risk charging through that guy. So here we go, first crack at a double 1. Nope. And another go.
Definitely.
No, that's a double 6.
Dog dead.
Extra dead. The werewolves, they were extra ferocious for some reason, and they've done 8 damage to the Iron Beast. So we need 8 to waver him, 10 twice to kill. Here we go. That is a waver. So the Iron Beast is wavered. That could be quite important in the context of the game here. But it does mean that the werewolves are potentially going to be flank charged by these hindered archers, which they're not that scared about, really. So the Wraiths had their worst round of attacks today, but they still managed to put some damage onto this guy, so he's on 7. They do have the Pipes of Terror, however, so they could kill the Iron Beast, potentially. We need 8 to waver, 10 to kill, with no inspiring anywhere near. So here we go. It's only 6. Wow, wow, wow. So this fight will rage on for a little bit longer at least. So we're now heading into Rhordia turn 6, and it couldn't get much more dramatic than this. A wavered Iron Beast in the middle has put a cat firmly amongst the pigeons, and the Rhordians have some decisions to make regarding what to target and whether to take charges or simply shoot things to death. So Revenant King on Worm has taken some more damage from various shooting attacks around here, lots of bows. The werewolves were wind blasted as far back as they could go, but not enough to take them more than 12 inches away from this point, so they'll still score some points, hopefully. And Mr. Lycanis has been charged over here by the leader. The Wraiths have taken yet another counter-charge from the Iron Beast. So we do have a nerve test to make for the Revenant King, who is currently up to 16. So 4 twice will kill him. There's 1. He is just dead. So the Iron Beast puts 3 damage onto the Wraiths, putting them up to 9 damage. So If he manages to kill them, that will make it very, very difficult for the Undead to win this game, even if there's a turn 7, I would say. However, if he doesn't kill them by rolling a 7, then potentially it's very, very dicey. So, here we go. Can he get 7 to kill the Wraiths finally? The epic duel? No, it's only 6!
He's not brutal either.
The Wraiths survive for another round, so if there's a turn 7, that could be very important. As it stands at the moment, the Rhordians are ahead by 8 victory points to 3 by virtue of having killed some of the bounty units and also being sat on some objectives. And potentially the secondary objective for killing more points than the opposition after killing those 2 very expensive characters. The Undead will be sitting on 3 points for the werewolves being within 12 inches of the centre. On a 1 to 3, the Rhordians will win. On a 4+, there'll be another turn and the Undead are still in it. There is another turn. Bum bum bum. So, the Undead, with their final chance to try and do something in this game. First of all, Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom has made a dash for the hills. He's running away to raise a fresh army because he's not liking the look of the odds in this one towards the end of the battle. And here the werewolves have charged into this sorcerer, hoping to overrun and kill both of them in one go. And Lycanis has picked up the baton to take on the Iron Beast, and he's actually dished out some damage, so we'll do that in overall in a second. Over here, of course, the Wraiths have countercharged the Iron Beast to try and kill that one as well. So if everything comes off, then the Undead would be in a pretty decent position at this stage. So here we go with the nerve test from the damage inflicted by Lycanis. So here we go, 9 required to kill, and he is inspired. So he is absolutely fine. The werewolves have dished out 8 damage to the first halfling sorcerer, and he's not inspired, so here we go. He's dead.
No!
And they're going to auto-overrun into the next guy because they were pretty much on the line with each other. This sorcerer is now also on 8 damage, so another chance for that double 1 that we haven't had yet today. And we don't have it this time either. Another sorcerer down, and now the werewolves will be able to pivot round to face whichever way they like to end the game because they're not going to be able to do anything else. Over here, the Wraiths, well, they outdid themselves. They did 0 damage this time to the Iron Beast, which could have potentially cost me the game there. We'll see what happens next, but it's looking likely that that's going to be pivotal. So we're going to go into the Rhordian final turn now, and see if they can secure a victory here. So, Lycanis suffered a barrage of shots from the Engineer, the Archers, and these mounted Archers as well. And down here you can see that the leader has charged into the flank of the werewolves. And of course the Iron Beast over there, who could be pivotal to a halfling victory, has charged into the Wraiths. Here we have Mr. Lycanis with a nerve test required. His nerve is 13, 15, so 11 twice to kill him. Here we go. No,
Wavered.
but he is wavered, which doesn't really make any difference now because
I'm putting the token down.
the game will be over. He'll have no chance to do anything else. The werewolf suffered 2 wounds as a result of this furious flank charge, so let's see if any kind of double 6 action can waver them. No, the Wraiths have suffered a lot more damage, so double 1 town to send them back to the grave where they belong. Here we go. Can the Iron Beast finally kill his nemesis? Yes, he can. Off they go. He turns his back on them as they disappear into the ether. So, surveying the battlefield, and we can confirm that the victory has gone to Rhordia by virtue of killing more, which has given them their secondary objective, killing some of the bounty-carrying units, which has given them quite a few victory points, and also sitting on one of the objectives right here, whereas the Undead have claimed this central area with the werewolves, who've got 2 for that. They have 3 for their unit strength being in there, and 1 for the unit strength of Lycanis being in there within 12 of the centre as well. Unfortunately, that is not enough. Had the Wraiths managed to kill off the Iron Beast, though, in that final turn, then that could have swung it into a draw. Chocolate-Chip Boggybottom is now heading off for the hills. Unfortunately, he could not prevail today. He didn't manage to take those unholy, sacrilegious bones into Rhordia, where he was going to use them for some nefarious purpose, and the Rhordians will have plenty of feasting tonight on, possibly not on the undead flesh that they slew on this day, but I'm sure they've got some rations from next week that they can break into.
We're having werewolf pie.
Well, there you go, they're having werewolf pie despite the fact that they didn't kill any werewolves. So the main ingredient will be a bit short in that pie, I would say.
Halfling vampire.
There will be vampires possibly in that pie, though. If halflings do feast on the flesh of a vampire, then will they in fact become vampires themselves?
You'll have zombies.
Well, we'll look into our Mantica lore to see exactly how vampirism works in this world, and then we'll let you know whether the entire village of halflings have just turned themselves into the bloodthirsty undead or not. So, it's a win for the halflings, and I would say those scenario cards do spice things up a bit. It's definitely a unique game. You never have a game with those particular set of victory conditions unless you are playing with the Kings of War Battlefield cards. I wonder how much they paid someone to name those. So, let's have a left-handed handshake right in front of the camera there.
Everyone loves a halfling.
Curse you. I'll be back. For your children's blood.
An hedgehog can never be never be an hedgehog can never be because it's too spiny.